nowhere is their environmental plan. They don't have an environmental plan. After 8 years of raising taxes on consumers, they still can't hit their targets. And they seem to suggest that if Canadians were just forced to pay more for gas, groceries, and heat, that forest fires would stop. Mr. Speaker, that is ridiculous. All that has happened is a 40-year high in food price inflation. 1 in 5 Canadians skipping meals because they can't afford food. 1.5 million going to food banks. Now, Mr. Speaker, they want a 61-cent a litre carbon tax. Well, they axe the tax so Canadians can afford to eat.
Yeah. So, Mr. Speaker, the Conservative Party of Canada say that if they were in power, they would work through technology to reduce pollution. They had 10 years to do that when they were in power. My friend and colleague, the Minister of Innovation, Science and Economic Development, does more for clean technologies on an average day before his first coffee, Mr. Speaker, than they did in 10 years.
10 years is reduce emissions while the economy grew, which proves the following quote. I take great exception to the federal minister always forcing this into a dichotomous issue. Either you believe in exactly what we say or you don't believe in climate change. That's completely illogical. It's completely false dichotomy. It's a false dilemma, and it's as insulting as it is simplistic. Who said that? The Liberal Premier of Newfoundland. Right. He says the carbon tax will bring inflationary pressures to his people. Why won't they listen to the Liberal Premier and axe the tax?
Yes. Mr. Speaker, you sit in this House and you listen every day, but I'd like to do another history lesson if you'd let me. The previous government had a Secretariat for Rural Economic Development. This government, which they axed, by the way, Mr. Speaker, it was this government that put in place a standalone Department of Rural Economic Development, whose #1 issue and mandate is to connect the country from coast to coast to coast, because that is the equalizer. High-speed, affordable internet. And by the way, Mr. Speaker, I was in the member opposite's riding last week and made a $71 million announcement in partnership with the government of Ontario to connect the riding of Pearl. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Shows how out of touch they are. They think that what rural Canadians want is another big government bureaucracy in Ottawa, Mr. Speaker. What they actually want is more money in their own pockets. But the plan of that member is to raise taxes on Newfoundland customers, to bring in a 61-cent a litre carbon tax on Newfoundlanders, Labradorians, and all Canadians that will drive up the cost of heat, gas, and groceries. Even the Liberal Premier of Newfoundland says it won't help the environment, it will cause inflation. Why won't they axe the tax?
Yeah.